talk louder, you need.
I can talk about it. So, I learned about this whole deal a couple days ago in physics, and we sat in our physics class for a good hour and a half, and there was just about 15 of us in the classroom, and I know half of us are crying, half of us are seniors, which was really touching that I saw that seniors were so touched, and emotional and caring about this, that they didn't have the attitude like, oh, well, I'm leaving, it doesn't matter. To be honest, the seniors are the ones who started getting me in tears. But it was hard, and it's a hard decision, and I have now come to grasp it, and thank you, Mrs. Quinn, for working so hard. I know that you and Mr. McSlow spent hours this last week trying to figure out scheduling, So I'd like to thank you, and I've come to grasp this, and I think the only thing that we can do is to move on. And yeah, it's going to be hard. It's going to be really hard. But when as people have said, we are a family, and I feel like I love this building, but if we could take this and just take our feeling and move it there, if it's for a year or two, I think we can get through it. I think that we need, like Amy said, we need your guys' support constantly, but I think we can. And I have a question for Ms. Mark. We've basically estimated there's about 40 drivers right now for Windward, and I know that the parking lot is packed at Ferndale. And are we going to be able to park there? Because I know that people have started buying parking passes months ago for next year. And we just figured out that we actually need to buy those parking passes. Are we going to be able to get them?
Yes, and when we talked about having a transition team, those are the kinds of things we're going to tackle. All the little nuts and bolts of being here, what are the things we need to look at, and how do we do that in a way that works well for Windward students? So that team will look at that and other things.
And if you want to keep recruiting and we get more kids and, we can, but you have to sign up for classes. And the reason that we're at this point right now is that we don't, if you want to take those electives, and we have to figure out the staffing. I'm open to keep having meetings too about talking about ways. The one question I'm not exactly sure how to answer, and I do respect it, is what about the kid who doesn't want to go to the big? I don't think it's an unsafe place, but I do understand. This is my, or maybe it was you who talked about it. 36 years I've been working in secondary school, so I know there's some kids at that big place, and I haven't got that. I don't know if there's a side entrance, if we can make it. I don't know, but I'm thinking. I'll think with you about that. This was the last option that I wanted to do. The last option. But I thank you for saying that. Don't give up on. If we can keep, we're going to have kids sign up for classes, but if we can keep trying to figure out creative solutions, maybe collectively we can do that. Yes. And
I understand the positive and the negative. And these kids, it's really important that that family group, Windward, sticks together and that they stay strong.
Yes.
But what I'm concerned about for all these kids is what guarantee for the level and strength of education and the classes that they've been getting here, is that going to stick with them? Are they going to get the same there that they will here if they're intermingled a little bit with the high school as far as classes? I have one of my kids, he struggled over it, and this year, finally, he's doing really well. Mind you, I've been taking him for tutoring now for a year and a half, and I pride myself on that. What guarantee is going to be there for the future kids of Windward, if it's still around, that they're going to get the level and the strength of the education that they get here compared to what they might get at the high school?
That's a great question, and to ensure that, what we do with the high school on all three campuses is we are a standards-based program. What that means is whether you teach English on the Windward campus or the Ferndale campus, your students need to meet the same standards. And so teachers are working together to make sure that the level of education is equitable, that it's challenging, and if your students on the Ferndale campus, for example, and they're struggling and need additional support, that isn't something that we could afford to offer at Windward in a support class, but we would have available at Ferndale if your student needed it. So some of those specialized supports we couldn't do here. We can offer them if a student needs it. If they don't, they can stay in their core content areas with their Windward teachers and take their core classes with the other Windward students. And the same level.
Windward teachers that he's gone to that level besides what I'm doing. And believe me, I'm struggling with it myself too. And I really don't want to see it go down.
No, I don't think so. The Windward teachers and Ferndale teachers team together. They meet, when we have the Eagle Days, or, the late start, that's so that our teachers can meet in teams. The science teachers meet together, the English teachers, the math, and what they're doing is talking about what do we teach. Is it equally challenging to students? They're sharing curriculum, they're sharing assessments, they're ensuring that the quality of education is the same across the board, no matter which campus you go to.
Okay, now a lot of the classes that are being offered here, like all the web design, because a lot of these kids, they love the technical side of school, and that's what makes the school in its own way special as well, because a lot of the stuff that happens here doesn't happen over there. Are they going to be offered the same classes?
This would be a great time, maybe.
Well,
Are they going to do that?
we
Yeah.
have so many people that hand up. I'll talk to you after.
I know, but I've waited a lot.
Actually, what I wanted to do, if you've got a few minutes, is this might be a good time to let Mr. McClaro talk to us a little
There's
bit.
so many people.
Do you want to do questions
I'd
instead?
like to hear that, though.
Would you like to hear what the choices are?
Absolutely. My son's
Okay.
a freshman next year, and I'd like to
Okay.
know if the classes you guys...
Maybe we just take a couple minutes if you want to hold your hands. I'd like to have Mr. McClaro talk to you, because he can talk to you about what the choices are. Your students took home registration materials today, and we can stay and answer questions all night. I'm not going anywhere. I'll be here. By the way, it's my son's birthday. He may not forgive me, but I'll be here. Jared's 15. He's already talking about taking the car for a driver's license, and I was like, oh. But anyway, I got him a cake. I made his favorite dinner, cheeseburgers and rice, so he's good. So we'll stay and answer questions. But for right now, Mr. McClaro is going to talk to you a little bit about the registration form your student brought home, and talk about what are the choices, because we got to make those decisions. And then we're going to talk more, answer questions more. So,
Can I ask one question before we do that real quick? So basically, what if we had a building, a site? If we had a site, that would...
Excuse me? Let's go.